Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived in a village by the wood. She always liked to wear a bright red cloak, so they called her Little Red Riding Hood. One day, Little Red Riding Hood wished to bring her grandmother a pie. She packed up a basket, put on her cloak, and she kissed her mother goodbye. "Remember," Mother said, "don't you dawdle. The woods are a very scary place." "Don't worry," Red replied as she left with a smile on her face. It was just so lovely in the forest that day that Red couldn't bear to stay the trail. She reached down to pick some pretty flowers that she saw and watched the butterflies and a snail. Little did she know, as she sat in the sun, that a dark shadow loomed overhead. A wolf then appeared and asked her quietly, "Why are you in the forest, Little Red?" She replied, "Well, I'm going to my grandmother's house, a cute little cottage near the brook." And then off she ran as she realised she was late, and the wolf took a shortcut, the crook. When Granny heard a knock, she called in relief, "Come in, dear, I was worried sick." In came the wolf, who gobbled Granny up and gave his lips a satisfied lick. A few minutes later, Red knocked on the door. Come in," she heard her Granny call. When she walked inside, Granny looked quite strange. Very hairy, ugly, and tall. "Granny," she cried out, "what big ears you have!" "The better to hear you with," Granny replied. "But, Granny, what big eyes you have!" "The better to see you with," the Granny lied. "Granny, what big teeth you have!" Red Riding Hood cried this out in fear. The wolf gave a smile, wearing Granny's clothes. "Well, the better to eat you with, my dear." The wolf leapt out of bed and opened his mouth. Red Riding Hood, she ran away and howled, "Help me! Help me! There's a wolf after me!" The wolf, chasing her hungrily, growled. A friendly young woodsman heard her cry out as he was in the forest chopping wood. "Don't worry," he cried. "I'll help you, Little Red." And he ran to her as fast as he could. He squeezed the wolf so tight she spat the Granny out, and she landed, slightly frazzled, on the floor. The woodsman took the wolf and with a giant kick booted the nasty wolf right out the door. "I was so scared that he would eat me up," said Red to her Granny, who replied, "I know, little one, but now you've learnt your lesson. Listen to your mother. Don't dawdle in the woods, and certainly don't talk to any strangers. Now you know, my dear, your mum is very right. The woods are full of many, many dangers." Then Red and her Granny thanked the kind woodsman who saved them from this very grave disaster, and they all lived happily ever after.